Since Russia's attack on Ukraine, there has been a noticeable increase in the number of peace plans, initiatives, and mediation offers from other countries. However, Ukraine seems to show little interest in considering these proposals. The President of Ukraine, Zelenskyy, and his trusted advisors have emphasized that Ukraine welcomes input from others but prefer to conduct peace negotiations without any help from the mediators. The reason behind Ukraine's reluctance to consider peace plans from third party is their firm stance on not compromising their territory and sovereignty. Additionally, Russian President Volodymyr Putin has not displayed any indications of being willing to give up his objective of exerting complete control over Ukraine. While both Ukraine and Russia have indirectly expressed readiness for negotiations, they have not yet engaged in direct peace talks. As the international community considers ways to initiate this process, it is crucial to recognize that achieving peace requires ensuring the security of both Ukraine and Russia. It is essential to address the concerns and needs of both countries rather than favoring one over the other. So who has the best plan for peace in Ukraine? What role may the United States and China play in this? And what ideas do other countries have to bring Ukraine and Russia to the table? If you are new on my channel, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video in your circle. What are the demands of Ukraine? What becomes problematic about these proposals is that they often require Ukraine to make territorial franchises as a condition for introducing peace negotiations. This may involve giving up parts of its territory in Crimea or the eastern regions. On the Ukrainian side, President Zelenskyy has put forward a 10-point plan, which emphasizes the restoration of Ukraine's territorial integrity and seeks Russia's statement of this within the framework of the United Nations Charter. Ukraine demands the release of all prisoners of war and deportees, as well as the trial of alleged Russian war criminals, which would potentially extend to President Putin himself. What are the demands of Russia? Putin says peace in Ukraine is as easy as pie. Just stop sending weapons to Kyiv. The Russian leader has made it clear that he believes the war in Ukraine could be ended immediately if the United States and NATO stopped supplying Kyiv with weapons. In a recent meeting with Russian military correspondents, Putin said that if they want to see a negotiated solution to the conflict, it's enough for them to stop weapons supplies. Dmitry Trenin, a former Russian military intelligence officer, said that Putin likes the ideas that China and other non-Western countries have put forward about peace in Ukraine. He also said that Putin blames Ukraine for not negotiating. According to him, a ceasefire would be like a timeout in a fight. It would just be a break before the fighting starts again, and it would probably be even worse than before. Furthermore, he thinks the Wagner revolt actually made Putin stronger. Before, there was a lot of fighting between the people who were loyal to him and the people who were loyal to the defense ministry. But now, Putin is in a stronger position because he can just get rid of the people who he doesn't like, and he can promote the people who he does like, and he can make sure that everyone is loyal to him. The role of United States and Europe. The US has been a huge help to Ukraine, but their commitment won't last forever. They have been signaling that they are more focused on China than Russia. So Ukraine needs to find a new security guarantor. The European Union is the best option because their economic and security interests are at stake in this conflict. Ukraine might prefer to deal with the US, but they will eventually realize that their European neighbors are more stable allies. The Europeans can totally guarantee Ukrainian security by bringing back the European defense community. The EDC was a plan from 1952 by the Benelux countries. France, Italy, and West Germany to meet the Soviet military threat. It didn't work out then, but it could work now. The Europeans need to do something to guarantee Ukraine's security, and the EDC is the best option. It would be a way for the Europeans to show Russia that they are serious about defending Ukraine. And it would also be a way for the Europeans to get closer together militarily. The EDC was a plan to create a European army, but it failed when France didn't ratify it. But now France might be more likely to support it, and it would be a great way to guarantee Ukrainian security. The EDC could station troops in Ukraine, which would make the guarantee credible. This would also counter Russia's claim that they are acting in self-defense against NATO in Ukraine. If the European Union countries actually implement their plans to boost their military, then their conventional forces would be strong enough to match a Russian threat. The West also needs to work on changing the way people around the world see the conflict. Right now, a lot of people think that the US and the European Union are just using Ukraine to pursue their own interests. The West needs to show them that they are actually trying to help Ukraine. The role of China. China is probably going to have to set up and establish a security guarantee for Russia. They have been saying that they don't want to see the Ukraine crisis, but they also don't want to see Russia lose or win. China doesn't want Russia to get too strong because they are their rival in Central Asia. But they also don't want Putin to fall because that might make other autocratic regimes start to crumble. So China is going to have to find a way to keep Russia from getting too strong but also keep Putin in power. That's going to be a tough balancing act for China. Putin said that Russia and China are not creating a military allies. All he needs is to know that China will protect him and his regime. That's enough of a security guarantee for him. But as long as Russia thinks that China is on their side, they are not going to negotiate peace in earnest. That's why if China really wants the Ukrainian crisis to end, they need to show Russia that they are not going to back them up forever. China needs to make it clear to Russia that they have limits to their security guarantee. If Russia wants to keep China on their side, they need to start negotiating peace. China can undermine Russia's global sympathy by just changing its rhetoric. They could start pushing the idea that Russia is the one blocking a peace deal. This would make people around the world think that Russia is the bad guy, and it would take away one of their trump cards. Over the course of more than a year, Putin has constantly portrayed the Russian military intervention in Ukraine as an accessory. This narrative carefully crafted and circulated to the Russian people and has successfully shaped their perception of the conflict. However, abruptly ending the military campaign to engage in peace talks with those whom he had characterized can push Russia into a civil war. In other words, Putin may try to claim that even though Ukraine has not surrendered, they have still been taught a lesson by the Russian army. This is a way for Putin to save face and claim that the invasion was a success. The role of Turkey and the Middle East. In the past 16 months, the leaders of Turkey, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar have all met with Zelenskyy and Putin in an attempt to broker peace. While these countries have not yet made any significant progress, Turkey's President Erdogan has been particularly successful in facilitating prisoner swaps and securing a deal that will allow Ukraine to export grain from its Black Sea ports. This deal will help to ease a global food crisis. The role of Brazil. Lula, the president of Brazil, proposed a peace club in April. He said that this group of countries would be respected at the negotiating table and could mediate between Ukraine and Russia. India, Indonesia, China, and Latin American countries were named as possible participants. These countries have not contributed weapons to Ukraine's defense. Lula also said that both Ukraine and Russia were responsible for the conflict, which ruffled some diplomatic feathers. The US should be careful not to view a potential Chinese-Russian alliance as a threat to its interests. If it does, other countries may start to believe that NATO is trying to start a conflict with Russia and China. It will be challenging to establish security guarantees for both Ukraine and Russia, but it is the only way to end the war. No one wants to live with a long-term war. The West will have to accept China's role in pushing for peace in Ukraine, even though it fears China's rise. Otherwise, the West risks becoming increasingly isolated from the rest of the world. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and of course don't forget to subscribe so you never miss it when we upload a new video. You can drop your recommendations and comment of what you wanna see us make in the next video. On that note, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.